Hello and welcome to the Commander Masters rules video. I'm Serge.
And I'm Nelson.
There are 50 plus returning mechanics in this set. And while many players will have seen them before, it's still a good idea to take your time and read the cards carefully. There's a lot going on in this set.
Since we can't cover everything, we've decided to focus on some key features, including the basics of Commander and how Commander Limited works in this set. Commander is a free-for-all multiplayer game, typically played with 4 players. Each player starts with 40 life, and must have a deck that contains exactly 100 cards, including their commander. It's a singleton format, which means that every card, other than basic lands, must have a different name. Your commander is normally a legendary creature, and its color identity determines the other cards that can be in your deck. In addition to the normal rules for winning and losing a game, Commander also introduces the concept of commander damage. A player who has been dealt 21 or more combat damage by the same commander loses the game, regardless of their life total. Drafting in Commander Masters works slightly differently than a standard draft. You still draft 3 packs and pass them as you normally would, but there are a few key differences. While drafting, each player selects 2 picks from each pack before passing. For deck construction, each player builds a deck of at least 60 cards, including their commander. The deck can only include cards that match the color identity of its commander. Unlike constructed Commander, you can include more than 1 copy of any card, so go ahead and draft multiples. Commander Masters also has an important rules change. You can treat any eligible commander that has 1 or fewer colors that doesn't already have partner as though it has partner. Partner is a keyword ability that allows your deck to have 2 commanders, provided both of them have partner. If you just can't find the right commanders for your deck, there's always the Prismatic Piper. After the draft, you can add up to 2 copies of the Piper to your card pool to serve as your deck's commanders. You don't even have to draft them. If you need a commander, you can borrow unused copies from anywhere.
Oh hey, you dropped this. The Monarch is back and you'll need it. The game starts with no Monarch. Once an effect makes one player the Monarch, the game will have exactly 1 Monarch from that point forward. As a player becomes the Monarch, the current Monarch, if any, ceases being the Monarch. There are 2 triggered abilities associated with being the Monarch. 1. At the beginning of the Monarch's end step, that player draws a card. You will forget this trigger more than any other ability in the history of Magic. And 2. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to the Monarch, its controller becomes the Monarch. If the Monarch leaves the game during another player's turn, that player becomes the Monarch. If the Monarch leaves the game during their turn, the next player in turn order becomes the Monarch.
Magic players love value, and Flashback might be the ultimate 2-for-1. After all, it's very nice to cast your instants and sorceries twice. Flashback cost means you may cast this card from your graveyard by paying cost rather than paying its mana cost. If the flashback cost was paid, exile this card instead of putting it anywhere else anytime it would leave the stack. You must still follow any timing restrictions and permissions. For example, a sorcery can only be cast when you normally could. A spell with flashback will always be exiled afterward, whether it resolves, is countered, or leaves the stack in some other way.
Cycling gives players the option to trade in spells for early card draw, and sometimes even a little extra if you've got the right payoffs. Cycling cost means pay cost and discard this card to draw a card. Some cards with cycling have an ability that triggers when you cycle them, and some cards have an ability that triggers whenever you cycle any card. These triggered abilities will resolve before you draw your card from cycling. Triggered abilities from cycling a card and the cycling ability itself aren't spells. Effects that interact with spells, such as Counterspell, won't affect them.
There are a few words that resonate more with gamers than number go up. To that end, welcome back, Proliferate. Proliferate means choose any number of permanents and/or players, then give each another counter of each kind already there. To proliferate, you can choose any permanent that has a counter, including ones controlled by opponents. You can also choose any opponent. You can't choose cards in any zone other than the battlefield, even if they have counters on them. You don't have to choose every permanent or player that has a counter, only the ones you want to add another counter to. Since any number includes 0, you can also choose no permanents or players. Abilities that trigger whenever you proliferate will trigger even if no permanents or players are selected. You can't be choosy with which counters you want to proliferate. If you select a permanent or player, every counter will go up.
That's it for the rules.
Thanks for watching.